Coming to you live from downtown Detroit, this is Benzinga's PreMarket Prep with your host, Joel Elconin.
This is a volatile puppy here, isn't it?
And Dennis Dick.
I'm bidding a penny. I will buy the stock for a penny.
With everything you need to start your trading day. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to this Monday edition of Benzinga's Pre-Market Prep. Spencer Israel here with Joel Elconin and Dennis Dick. On the show today, Facebook looks like it's going to be the dominant news story, at least of the morning, and their continued data issues. We're going to talk about Tesla. We have some commentary from Goldman Sachs on their Q1 deliveries. We have some M&A happening in the defense sector. We're going to talk about the hangover from the quad witch. And our guest today will be Paul Lamonica. He will join us at 8:20. He's a digital correspondent at CNNMoney. Joel, tell us what's happening this morning in the S&Ps.
S&P futures are trading in the red by 14 3/4 points. You had the old triple close up at the 27.55 area. You opened then, you were immediately hit. Traded down to 27.33. That's just below your 6-day low, so there'll be one target on the downside. Need to reclaim 27.45. That's mid-range on the session. So SPU's following through on some big selling bounces from the close. We'll talk about that in 1 minute with Dennis. You have crude in the red by 15 cents here at 62.25. Finding some resistance here at the 62.50 area. Gold in the red as well by $1.40 at 13.10.90. Gold just clinging to the $1,300 level. Keep an eye on 1303.60. That was your March 1st low. Silver in the red here. Silver's in the red by almost a penny. It's 16.26. And I checked Bitcoin last night, and it was like at 7,500. So that's definitely losing some steam. Let me check the Bitcoin print here for you. I think this Bitcoin may be heading for 5,000, but nope, we're back up at 8,300. Good morning to you, Dennis. Busy weekend for me. How was your weekend?
Probably not as good as yours. How was yours with the big comeback victory? That was an incredible finish for your blue.
Yeah, did you hear me scream when
all the way from Canada? I could actually hear you screaming, Joel. That was an incredible finish. Just give us a recap here of what was going through your mind as you watched your team pull off this stunning comeback in the last 4 seconds. I mean, the game was pretty much over. It was over. You hit one of those free throws, or if you hit a both, it's definitely over. And give us a recap.
Down two. We foul them. They have 2 foul shots. They miss both. All right. So we get the ball. We call timeout. 3.8 seconds to go. While John Beeline was drawing up the play for Michigan, I was coming up with my conciliatory speech for Stocks and Jocks tomorrow. But Abdur Rahman made a great pass. They didn't bound him off the inbound. Then one of my favorite players, Jordan Poole, nailed a 3-pointer. And the aftermath. Did you watch the video of him running around the floor afterwards? Spencer, did you see that at all?
Yeah, I saw it.
It was just a hell of a shot. Yeah. The shot was awesome.
It was. He was off balance. And if you look on Twitter and stuff, he made an identical shot like that in high school to win a game as well. But we talk about the markets on this show and not about sports here, Dennis. And good call by you on Friday. I couldn't share it with people, but what did you see on the close on Friday?
I just said the big boys are selling. There was massive selling balances on the close. And if you look, you can see how many stocks gapped down on the closing print or gapped down in the last few seconds. There was enough that SPY itself, if you look at the SPY, look at the chart in the last 3 minutes. It just collapses. So bring up this, SPY, or you can look at the S&P futures if you want to look. I like to look at SPY because I like the more direct, or I just like it because I have quotes on it. I don't pay for my S&P quotes because they're too expensive as a pro. But SPY goes from 275 down to the close of 274.20. So we lose 80 cents in the last couple of minutes. And that's, just because you have so many stocks that were gapping down. I mean, look at a stock like Walmart. WMT, gap down on the closing print from 89.79 down to 89.17. Gaps down almost 1%. There was just a plethora of stocks that were gapping down on the close. I mean, you could bring up pretty much anything like Apple, a lot of the big guns gapping down. There's a few that didn't, but for the most part, it was an ugly, ugly close. And what's that telling me? It's telling me big institutional sellers at the close. Maybe, they had, option positions that were offsetting. It could be a lot of reasons. It could be hedging tactics, but it could just be flat out that they didn't want to be long into the weekend. There was a lot of selling into the close, though. And then I often like to follow the big boy money. I did come in a little bit short. Unfortunately, I'm having some bad luck here again today because one of my long hedges, because I like to try to trade mostly market neutral, was Facebook long. And obviously, bad news over the weekend here, which we'll get to in a second. But my Facebook long is absolutely killing my whole day because it's down 3.6% and the market's only down 0.38% here now. So not what you could do when you're market neutral trader and you're trading an ARB and you have news coming over the weekend, and one of the stocks, has obviously got really bad news. So we'll get to that in a second.
All right. Also, I just want to mention the trading action from Friday. We had been averaging in the 35 to 40 point range for quite some time. And then here you come on a triple witch, quad witch, whatever you want to call it. You're supposed to have more volatility, right? And the spoons were just like a ping pong ball. They just could not find traction on either side. And then they ended up with the triple close at the 27.55 area, which I mentioned at the top of the show, what we lost quickly. So, there was a little bit of Trumpness over the weekend, too, firing the FBI director like 3 hours before he retired. And then there was also some other rumors going on over the weekend. So you have a couple different factors pointing to this down open here. But Dennis, I think you mentioned the most important factor, and that was just, the big boys selling on Friday. But we'll talk a lot about the Facebook with Paul when he comes on.
Do you want to save it for Facebook? Give us the news, though, just Spencer. We'll go into details.
News me, Spencer.
Well, the news is that a vendor of theirs, Cambridge Analytica, took the data they had gotten as a Facebook vendor and then had sold it to the Trump administration, which just kind of highlights the general lack of security and the data that they sold. They didn't have permission to do that, so it just kind of highlights the general lack of security around people's data that Facebook has. And if this one vendor can do it, anybody could have done it, right? Theoretically, and so it just kind of highlights that Facebook has really no idea how to secure. They have not done a good job of securing people's data, and I think people are realizing that now that they're starting to get really mad. It's funny. Data surveillance is something that people don't think about very often. If you think back to when the whole NSA thing, WikiLeaks, when that happened, what was that, 5 years ago now? People got really mad. But that was an obvious thing that had been happening for a long time. This is kind of the same thing to me. It's kind of obvious to me that Facebook and everyone, Facebook, Amazon, Google, they all have all of our data and they're obviously doing stuff with it. But when news gets out of what is being done with it specifically, then people get angry. And I think that's what's happening this morning. People are just pissed off at Facebook for being loosey-goosey.
Not protecting their data or using it.
Yeah, for being loosey-goosey with their data. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, go ahead, Dennis. You want to comment?
I just mean it's hitting me because I'm not long. I'm long Facebook as an overnight ARB trade. I had it against the S&Ps, and obviously I had a lot of stocks against the S&Ps, but I had Facebook a little bit heavier than maybe I should have. And this is the second time in like 2 months that I've had Facebook on an ARB long, and obviously significant bad news and stocks destroying my day. So maybe I consider not doing Facebook anymore. I think it was like 2 big down days in Facebook in the last couple of months, and I was long on both of them. So as overnight, ARB trades. So it's disappointing, when that doesn't work out. But it's got me a little bit bummed here this morning. But anyways, it's down $7 here. Last time it bounces back. I mean, BTFD seems to always bounce back. I'll get out of it because it's just an ARB trade for me. There was no swing trader. There's no there's no reason for me to hold on to this and just hope it comes back. I'm never in the hope trade. So my strategies would tell me to sell the open. and I will. But, looking at it just as a longer-term perspective, I mean, you got all kinds of support down at 175. Is this the end of Facebook? Probably not. It's had, lots of issues before. It seems like every time you get a 7, 8, 10-point pullback in Facebook, it seems like a buying opportunity, and I don't see why it's going to change.
Why would you wait till the open?
Well, I'll work it out. If I can work it out pre-market, I'll work it out here too. But I haven't really sat and analyzed it. It's enough to say, should I sell it down 7 right now? Should I sell it down 5? Should I be getting the hell out?
Okay, I'm just asking.
It's all I'm saying is this is how traders get into trouble. I wanted to make this point here. And they'll make the point, and they're like, oh, I just had Facebook overnight. I'm down $7. My stop was 183. Now it's 178. Well, I can't sell down here because I'm down too much money. That's how traders get into trouble. It is Facebook. In all likelihood, if I hold this for a week, I'll probably get a lot of that money back. But I'm not in the game to gamble. I'm in the game to take advantage of market inefficiencies. That's what I do. And, I'm taking, an arb trade and then all of a sudden making a call on it. That's the way to lose a lot of money. So I don't know where this thing could go down another $3-4. It could test at 174, 175. Could come bounce right back, 180, 181. I have not worked out of my long trade yet here. I can tell you right now in the pre-market, there's somebody selling a boatload at 178.25 because he will not move. So there's an iceberg seller there right now that's got 100 shares showing, and they're trying to lift it because the S&Ps are climbing up here and they're buying everything against you, including Facebook. So they got the ARBs there coming in and buying Facebook right now against the S&Ps, probably just program trading to a certain extent. But the 78.25 guy is not moving right now.
Yeah,
so I think he thinks it's going to hell of a lot lower, or he just wants out.
Spoos, keep an eye on 44.75. That's mid-range on the session. Your pre-market low comes in at 77.33. That would be 177.33. Not a whole lot there. You had a low at 78.07. The question is if they take out that low, do they have enough gas to get it to your March 5th low of 175.89? So I would keep an eye on that. Coming back on the upside here, Dennis mentioned that iceberg seller at 78.25. Your highest level since you made that low was 179 even, so we'll keep actually 179.06.
Show me that pre-market chart, Spencer, because this helps my trading too, because I am long Facebook, and Joel's telling the numbers here, but I'm not seeing the chart. So bring it up. There it is. Okay, show me the intraday, the overnight chart is what I want to see. Everybody can see that chart. The one thing we have nice is we have the pre-market charts here. So you can actually see what this has done pre-market and see if there's a reason here in the pre-market that looks like there's step down sellers, or what is it. So you've got the overnight collapse. Can we zoom that in any more to see the action? Because that's not showing me much either. Yeah. That's just showing me the gap down from Friday, and it's not telling me really that much.
What's telling me is it's too close to the low here.
You want to zoom in on like from Thursday here?
Well, I want to see the action from this morning. Yeah, okay. Is there a way to just see the action from this morning? You're showing me all the action from the last 3 days.
Here we go.
You got the 1 minute.
I'm on a 1 minute chart right now. Is that
go 15 minute? 15 minute.
Okay, I'll go 15 minute.
Yeah, what minute?
Try to see the action from this morning. Zoom it in a little bit closer because that's going to help. The 78.25 guy seems to be holding the fort there because now it's down to 78.
Yeah. And
so,
to me,
it's not bouncing here. That chart you just had was starting to look a little bit better, but when I just see a line, it's pretty much useless to me as a trader. So that's why we're always trying to I'm giving ourselves some critical feedback here on our charting, is because we need to see the gap down. Everybody knows it's gapping down. What I really want to see was the intricate little move here of this morning. Like, what's it done for the last 4 hours? So I don't know.
I'll show you. I'll pull up a 1 minute chart. This is a 1 minute chart from today.
Yeah, but 1 minute.
Do you know what I'm saying, Joel?
Yeah, I do, and I don't have control. You got it. 1 minute just told you what. Go 15 minutes. That looks better.
So now I can see a little that, hey, we had a gap down, and now we're leaking. You know what I'm seeing on that?
There's the 15 minute. There you go. You open lower. They're pressing it. It's down at 178. Right? They're still pressing it. To me, it looks like they got more work to do on the downside here because you haven't distanced yourself from that low. So that's
still pressing it.
Right. 4 o'clock open. Where did we open it? 4 o'clock this morning. When the news came out, actually, Dennis, man, if you would have got up early, this thing opened at 184 and ticked 184. What time did that news come out? It must have been after that.
It was Friday. That big tick down. I thought it was from Friday. When did the news come out? Like Friday at like 6 p.m. or something?
It's after 8 p.m.
Or 8 p.m.?
Because
It was Friday. It was
so
late.
equities close at 8 p.m. And I can tell you the Facebook was trading up at 8 p.m.
Yep.
Because bought it as a hedge against SPY because the S&Ps were trading way higher at 8 p.m. So in any regard here, that news definitely came out over the weekend. So it wasn't digested yet. Maybe, you're right. The 4 a.m. traders get up there. And now we're seeing a little bit of a pop here on Facebook.
Yeah, you're right. I think it was just I think it was just after 8 p.m. I think it was like 8:03.
Yeah, a nice, convenient time after the stocks were closed. Very good. And then, I don't know, they still digested it, though. And if you got up at 4 a.m.,
you had it out.
Yeah, you had an out at 184. So, okay. We got a couple minutes before we bring in Paul Lamonica here. Where should we go next here, Spencer? How about a little merger and acquisition in the defense sector?
Sure. GD, General Dynamics, is going to proceed with an all-cash tender offer to acquire CSRA for $40.75 per share.
This was rumored, wasn't it? Though,
yeah.
This was already all priced in.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah. So this is final. Yeah, because this was already done.
Yes.
Because they already had the gap. I just remember talking about this on the show. So this was talked about a month and a half ago. So this isn't new news. Is this just the final price is finally determined here, or this
was originally? Yeah, it was originally from February 12th. Is when?
You can see the gap up in the charts. Everybody knew this was happening. So it's not a new news. But I guess it's up 55 cents as we get the finalized price here. But CSRA going to go off the board.
Okay, and then this is news from Friday, but let's interpret the price action in Wells Fargo. Wells Fargo in deep water with the government again here, Spencer. You want to news me on that?
Well, the Journal came out and said this is at 6:49 p.m. Eastern on Friday. Or that's when it was updated the last, at least. So we know that they're being investigated by the Justice Department, and that investigation has expanded beyond their retail banking unit into the wealth management business. Never a good thing to see expanding investigations.
Affecting the stock zero. This is all stuff. This stuff here. This is affecting it nothing. 55.90 is where it's trading. That's where it closed. Financials are relatively strong here this morning. Why is that? TLT is very weak. So again, you can look at the S&Ps and say, oh, the banks are all going to be killed here today. Not the case. You want to be watching the TLT more than anything. When you see the TLT down 76 cents, the banks almost always will be catching a bid. I would not be the least bit surprised to see some of these banks actually go green here on the day. And if you're looking for a sector to bring us back out of the doldrums here, I think it will be the banks here today. So I'm making a bold call, 8:18 here in the morning, that if this market turns around, it's going to be the banks that lead us higher here today. So if you're looking at banks, you can get them in the cheap here in the pre-market. I think it's a good idea because I do think the bank's going to have an okay day today.
Just Wells Fargo closed near its low of the session of 55.87 and then 59.90 print. See what happens here, because you had two other lows at this area on February 12th and 13th. So if it holds in here, you got a chance to rebound. If not, the recent low of the move was 54.72. But as red as the SPOOs are, as bad as that news was on Friday, kind of hanging in here and unchanged. But overall on the daily chart, though, this Wells Fargo is just not looking so good here compared to where these other stocks were. Topped out at 66.31. This was on January 29th, $10 off its high. I think Mr. Buffett sold some, right? So that's probably putting some pressure on it. And then, this ongoing investigation has Wells Fargo.
It never came back. It never came back. It gapped down $5 that day. Then you can see the day back in February, and it's never really come back. So now you've been leaking here. And you're right. When you look at some of these banks, they're starting to see separation here. You have stocks like Bank of America that are very close to their 52-week highs. JP Morgan, Goldman Sachs, not that far off. And then you look at Citi and Wells, and they're significantly off their 52-week highs. I mean, Citigroup is off over 10% from its 52-week high, and Wells Fargo, you're talking about a stock that's off 15% from its 52-week high. So you got a couple banks within 2 to 3% of their all-time highs. Then you got Wells and Citi, or not all-time highs, but 52-week highs. Then you got Wells and Citi that are really lagging and they're off significantly here too. So there is some separation here happening with some of the banks.
All right, it is 8:20 a.m. here, and we are going to call Paul Lamonica. He's a digital correspondent at CNNMoney. We'll be right back with Mr. Lamonica.
Welcome back, everyone, to PreMarket Prep. Spencer Israel, Joel Elconin, and Dennis Dick on now with Paul Lamonica, digital correspondent at CNNMoney. Paul, I imagine biggest story on your radar this morning is the happenings of Facebook, correct?
It is indeed. Yeah, the stock is down this morning. Threatening to potentially give up gains for the year, depending on how bad it is, because of these continued concerns about what is going on regarding Cambridge Analytica, the story about a data firm that worked for the Trump campaign, having some evidence of the data that they got from 50 million users on Facebook, just concerns about their roles in political elections, not just obviously in the U.S., but I think around the world. Worries about Brexit, were heightened obviously too after the 2016 election.
Do you think it's do you think the action this morning is a result from the specific way in which this data was used, the specific firm, and the fact that it was used for the Trump administration, or do you think it's just a general thing like, hey, we have no control over our data and we're pissed off?
I think the concern on the part of investors is just that whether or not Facebook has done enough to really try and prevent anything like this happening in the future. I mean, I think that the company has taken steps, obviously, but given what happened in 2016, whether or not you want to say that this was an election that potentially was swung in the way of the favor of President Trump as a result of possibly bad information that was on Facebook, that's obviously a black eye for the company. And I think there are some people who are just wondering whether or not Mark Zuckerberg, has taken it seriously enough. And, I'm not so going to say that there are questions about leadership at the firm just yet. And even if there were, good luck forcing Zuckerberg out, given the massive number of Class B shares that he continues to own, even as he's been selling some off. But, there are definitely, I think, some concerns that you have at Facebook that may not necessarily be there at larger tech companies like, an Amazon, for example. I mean, despite all the big moves that Jeff Bezos has made to increase the dominance of Amazon, I don't think people are questioning, the integrity of the firm's, data in question.
We're on the line with Paul Lamonica. He's a digital correspondent at CNNMoney, joining us here this morning. Paul, I'm kind of torn on this one because you have another situation with a big data breach, right? And we all remember what happened to Equifax, right?
Yep.
That stock had the big data breach, went from 127 and change, under 110, got to 108.33. And, now it's like, okay, 123.5, 124, no harm, no foul, as far as Equifax goes. Where do you put the data breach situation here with Equifax and, would make you a little bit more leery about buying the dip here in Facebook?
I'm not going to really get into the, the issue of, whether or not you buy this or not, to be honest. But I think, when you look at, Equifax is obviously still, down from, its, highs, about a year ago, even though it's bounced off the lows. It's hard to really compare these two, though. I mean, I think with the case of Equifax, in some respects, it's a little bit more serious and a little bit more concerning to average Americans because it does hit at the the notion that people's credit scores and credit history were potentially compromised, actual financial information. And I think if you were hit by the Equifax data breach, there was a lot that you needed to do to potentially just ensure that bad actors weren't in control of critical pieces of financial information. With Facebook, obviously, it's also, to quote Billy Joel, a matter of trust, if you will. But I think we're talking about a different story here where it's not necessarily the financial information that people are worrying about. It is the integrity of the data, obviously. And, politics is a very emotional thing for many people. So clearly that's inflaming a lot of passions as well. But also Equifax is a much tinier company, even at its height, than Facebook was. I mean, name before the Equifax scandal, who was the CEO of Equifax? I mean, you'd be hard pressed to know who that was because it's not a household name like Mark Zuckerberg. So I think what we have here with Facebook is that you do have a personality aspect as well between Zuckerberg and Sheryl Sandberg, both of whom have also been linked to potential political aspirations as well.
So, Paul, one of the big things, obviously, that people will be watching with Facebook specifically is the headline risk, right? They're clearly very prone to headline risk. I saw a tweet that Channel 4 News in the UK had promised undercover video that will provide further insight into Facebook's dealing with this third-party vendor. So, in your opinion, what kind of legs does this story have as far as headline risk?
I don't think,
Facebook?
I don't think this is going to go away anytime soon. I've gotten at least 2 analyst reports this morning, still going through my email about concerns that that this story is going to continue to linger for a while, and that it is something potentially that will be a cloud on the stock. So I don't think this goes away anytime soon. I mean, let's be honest here. I mean, the story of President Trump is one that I think is dominating the media even more so than any normal presidential administration would. So given all the controversies regarding his election to begin with, the polarization that I think we have politically in this country and how that's manifested on Facebook, I really don't think this is going to go away anytime soon. Whether or not we wind up seeing Zuckerberg, Sandberg, other prominent Facebook executives get dragged in front of Congress, I think that still remains to be seen. There are some calls for that to happen, but we just have to wait and see how this plays out. But I don't think it goes away anytime soon.
And Paul, real quick before we let you go, I just wanted to get, I'm not sure if you'll even be able to comment on it, but I want to get your thoughts on the Time Warner AT&T proceedings.
Yeah, I can quick that. No comment.
No comment. Okay. Fair enough.
Disclosure. Paul R. Lamonica works for CNNMoney, which is owned by Time Warner.
Fair
he
enough.
has no interest whatsoever in discussing the matters of the AT&T deal because he likes his job and wants to keep it.
Hey,
okay,
good
all
answer.
right, I like that. One more from me though, and this is just a little bit off topic. I know you got Buzz and Buzz Jr., right? And
That's correct.
How are they doing?
They're doing great. They
Okay.
Can't complain. You know how it is. It's always an adventure.
Okay, well, Dennis and I have been, looking into, internet sports, and with this Fortnite and everything that's going on, and changes that are going on in that sector. How much time, are they? Are they, well, the Fortnite's a little bit violent here, but just trying to get the feeling for it. I mean, could you see, Buzz or Buzz Jr., being on whatever high school they're going to go to, the EA Sports team, and trying out for that, or are we getting a little bit too far ahead of ourselves?
I think we're a little too far ahead, given where they are. But obviously, I think it goes without saying that they are growing up in an era where I expect them to be even more savvy with regards to gaming. And again, I mean, I joked about Jeff Bezos controlling everything. Amazon owns Twitch as well, so there's even that angle for Amazon.
All right, we've been online with Paul Lamonica. CNNMoney is where he does his writing. You can catch him on Twitter at Lamonica Buzz. Paul, thanks so much for the time today. Have a good one.
Thank you. Appreciate it. You too.
All
Thanks.
Right.
Spencer, were you trying to get Paul in trouble there?
I just figured I would ask him. You can't not ask. In a situation like that, is the hearing starts on Wednesday, and we had an employee from the company on, so you got to ask that question.
Yeah, okay. What about this merger here, Dennis? I mean, it's with the way that the trend has been going for this, seems like a lot of things have been getting blocked here. TWX still trading at a nice discount. $11. I don't know. Is the risk reward is really not that good here at 96, right, Dennis?
Yeah. One consideration though is the media stocks have actually come back a lot. The traditional media stocks, since this merger's been announced, which was like a year ago, think about your Viacoms, think about your Fox, think about a lot of the traditional media. They've come back a long ways from the lows. So you could argue, and I was arguing the same thing with the Qualcomm deal, that man, TWX is, still, and obviously, this was the merger that propped it up. But I mean, when you really consider it, we're around $80. So you could think if this deal was never announced, where would TWX be, considering how much some of the traditional media companies have come back? It'd probably be at 90. So, I mean, really, is the risk reward that bad here? Maybe not. I don't know if I'm in love with traditional media. I think they've got a long ways to go to get back to catching up and to getting back the pie that social media has taken from them. But I would argue that I don't think this is going back to 80 if this merger gets killed. I don't even know if it's going back to 90. So if it goes through, the deal's up. Well, it's a stock deal, so it depends on AT&T price to a certain extent. But you say 107, 108. So the risk reward isn't that bad here when you consider that.
Okay, and AT&T, if you're trading that, just be aware of the nearly matching ranges from Friday and that. Two lows at 37.01, 36.90, and then your two highs within a nickel as well, 37.29 to 37.34. So there's some levels to keep an eye on if we have any T traders. Dennis, in balances, like we've got a little bump in the market that was kind of below before the imbalances. How are they?
No, there's nothing really of influence here. Huh? They're small. I'm looking. I'm scrambling to find it. Alibaba 79,000 to sell. That's significant. It's run into a little bit of trouble at 200, which is to be expected. I mean, even though you get through it, it's the last couple of days the highs are just above $200. So starting to run into a little trouble as it looks like there might be some institutions taking off a piece as that got over $200. Ford has 130,000 share buy and balance if you like trading the Ford, and it really has been quiet since it had that big pop from Morgan Stanley. Kind of just consolidation station here, and I don't mind the chart on this one. So if I'm looking at the Ford, a little bit of a value play. Obviously, it's been a value trap for a while. I am long in my investment portfolio. Has not been a great one, but as long as it's above $11, you could argue that maybe you get another gap up. But really, when I'm looking at it here, these stocks are pretty quiet.
Real
like
quick.
from imbalanced land.
Yeah, real quick, inside day in Baba after the big news day. So keep an eye on the high and low from Friday in Alibaba. That's 0038 and 9726. The big number on the downside for me in Alibaba is your 2-day low, Thursday's low of 96.52. If in fact that's taken out here, you got a gap to fill. Well, it's about a $3 gap, the 93.63. Have to agree with Dennis here. Sellers stepped down over $1 on Friday from 01.5 to 0038. Might be lining up at the point. 20028. That was your closing price on Friday. Another point of resistance. And Ford, the day that it had that upgrade from Morgan Stanley was also the same day that it had another recall. But it did come down and fill the gap that it had. Seems to be finding support here at 11, but you're going to need some good news for it to get off the mat. Sticking with the car theme here, Goldman Sachs out on Tesla. Spencer, what do you have for us?
Yeah, I think they just maintained their rating today, but in that note, they did say they did say that their Tesla's Q1 deliveries would likely come in under what they said they would be. I think they said they would disappoint, is what they said. So Goldman sees Tesla's Q1 deliveries disappointing. I don't remember what the number was off the top of my head. I looked at it briefly when I woke up, but so that's the headline there. Is that I think the rating itself wasn't changed, but just that headline.
Channeling stocks.com 300 to 360. That's the channel it's been in the last year. I know it's broken, a couple points, it's been a few points below 300. It's got above 360 back. It got back in there in the summer. But really, when you look at this chart, that's the two levels that jump out to you on the weekly. Every time it gets up near the 350s, 360 area, it finds sellers. Every time it gets down near 300, it finds buyers. So I don't see why that changes. You're kind of straight down from 5 days, go up at near 350. You get down near 300, I think you find buyers again.
You found support here earlier this morning at just in the lower 314 handle, and now you've bounced a couple bucks off that. So keep an eye on that. If you're looking for a corresponding level in the daily charts, you got to go back to your February 13th low of 312.51 on the upside to fill the gap from yesterday. Friday's low, 319.07 here, but 1, 2, 3, 4 bad days here for Tesla. Like Dennis mentioned here, little bit of a trading range.
Let's jump over to ratings land. There's a few interesting ones here. The big one on my note here would be Arista Networks, ANET, and it's getting the beats. It's down 4.6% or 13 points here this morning. That's because Deutsche Bank's coming out with a sell rating on this thing, ANET. And did they give a price target on that, Spencer, ANET, where they said it was going? But I do see it sell.
I don't see a price target. I can check some other. I'll hunt around.
Okay, see if you can hunt the price target down, because I'm just curious, where they see that going. Sometimes come out a sell rating, the price target is like $10 lower. In this case, I don't think it is, because they're absolutely murdering it. Oh, here it is, 195. So they think it's going to $195. That's a significantly lower price target, 100 points down, they think. So that's why, if you're looking at why is Arista Networks getting the beats, you can thank Deutsche Bank for that over the weekend.
Real quick, just going back, Spencer, when I'm going over the technicals here, get Goldman Sachs' target on Tesla, because if you've been following them in this stock, I think you might be short from like $90 or something like that. They've had a sell on it for a while. But this is a big fall for Arista Networks here, down nearly $15 in the pre-market session. We made a low of 78.69, and you know what? We don't have much of a bounce. We're only at 279.16. So keeping an eye on that pre-market low. Thin. The 270 handle is really thin here. Ooh, there's nothing in here. In fact, until 267.30, that was your low back on March 5th. I don't think we have the gas to get there on that. So maybe if I was short or trying to build along, which I would not be trying to do, use some half and whole numbers on that. But the daily chart tells you that March 5th low of 267.30.
Goldman's Tesla price target is 185.
Okay. All right.
Really? Wow. All right, jump over. What do you got other in rating land there, Spencer? What else is jumping out to you this morning?
There was
a
one,
few.
Yeah, there was one that I wrote down in the doc. Where was it? Barclays, which also had some news.
Give me the news.
But the news on Barclays, so they're being upgraded this morning. I saw from JP Morgan, and also an activist investor, Sherborne, took a 5.16% stake in Barclays, but I did also see an upgrade at JP Morgan.
JP Morgan's upgrade, big breakout here for Barclays this morning, and this is going counter to everything else this morning. It's up 6%. So this is a big move. $12 has been massive resistance. We're at $12.45 in the pre-market. Obviously, this is already trading over in London, so this is already very active here this morning. It's got a 1 cent market, and a price discovery has already happened, but it's a big breakout here for Barclays.
Yeah, trading just off the highs of the pre-market session. You got to pop to 12.48, just hanging out there. This is a big breakout. We have not been in these levels since January of 2016. So if you're looking for a target above the pre-market high, just remember in January 2016, you had a low at 1286, and then it didn't have a good month. It ended that month at 10.78. So a little reset here to a little over 2 years ago in Barclays. And also Deutsche Bank. Is it affecting? I mean, I know this is specific news to the the Barclays, but boy, that Deutsche Bank chart is nothing to write home about, huh, Dennis?
It's been in the gutter. Most of these financials, European financials, have actually been sinking slowly here in the last couple of months. Obviously, $20 back at the end of January. We're now 15, so it's a quiet 30% fall or 25% fall here for Deutsche Bank. You look at Barclays, and it's breaking out. So you're seeing some separation here in some of these banks. RBS has been hit. That's Royal Bank of Scotland. Banco Santander, SAN has been hit. It looks like Barclays is the only one really that's been held up. ING is down from 20.5 to 17.5. So they all look the same except Barclays. BCS obviously been an outperformer here and now breaking out. So BCS showing them how it's done.
Yeah, we'll see if they can drag the others along, but definitely European banks not acting like the U.S. banks here on the rate hikes. Let's go to CSIQ. They had some earnings today. If Spencer will give that, Dennis, you give us an update. You still holding on to it or not? And
no, I was out of CSIQ a long time ago.
Oh, I forgot. Okay.
When Gordo said that, and I follow Gordon Johnson, and he does these. Nobody does solar better than Gordon. And I had bought it originally at like $13 because he put the buy on it with a $33 price target, and then he brought that in. And after the owner had put potential. 1850 price, trying to buy up the other shares, but he said, I don't know if that's real. And he says the second thing is I think I put it to top on the price. So he said, so he had lowered his price target and went down to neutral on it that day, and it was trading at 1740. And I'm like, okay, well, he's out, I'm out. So I went 1740 and sold it that morning right after the Gordon Johnson interview. And it was a good call because now down to 1540. So, I mean, Gordon Johnson's just a man in solar. And I don't even – he's going to know way more than me. He researches it so much. When he's bullish, I'm going to jump in there too with him. So I have the Gordo long trade in solar.
All right, here are the numbers on CSIQ. The Q4 EPS, $1.01 versus a 96-cent estimate. Sales $1.11 versus $1.14 billion, so a beat on the EPS, a miss on the sales. Q1 sales guidance coming in higher than the estimate. 1.37 to $1.4 billion versus a $1.13 billion estimate.
One level and one level only, 1650 spinner. Keep an eye on this one. You had, this is back on March 6th through March 13th. All your highs were between 1641 and 1653. 1640 is your pre-market high. Now we are holding up here near that level, but absolutely rock solid resistance. I don't even know how many tops that is, Dennis. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. A 6 toplet high.
Opening right into it, too.
Yeah, opening right into it. Yep,
that's a nice setup to fade.
And we had news on Jinko Solar, too, right? JKS.
Did we?
There was some news over the weekend here. There was news on Friday as well, so you get some follow through here too. Did they report? I can't. Goldfish memory here. There was something on Friday, or was it an upgrade? Let me go look.
They get no.
It's UBS put a $26 price target.
That was Friday morning.
That was
right.
on Friday.
Yeah, it's Friday.
Thursday night.
Yeah.
So that was Thursday night, which affects the price Friday, and that's when you got the lift. And then over the weekend here, Schaefer's Research had some positive commentary there. I don't know if there's anything else.
Really light volume up here on this move. We've
bid up here.
Okay.
So you got to consider that too. 2045 is a bid. So this is real. It isn't like just, somebody just painting the tape. This thing's going to be up 6% here today. So it's a nice breakout over 20. A lot of these solar stocks have really come back. I mean, First Solar has been a monster. Had a great day on Friday, but then gave it all back. Had a great morning on Friday, I should say, and then gave it all back. Jinko's, that's a breakout over 20. So you got to note that.
2114. That is your February 6th high. Just hanging up here near the highs of the pre-market session. I see a 5,000 lot block went off at 8:15, right around 2024 to 20 and a half. But since then, you've just had some odd lot prints here. But really looking at the daily charts, I had a real bad day. This was going back to early February. You had a 2160 high, then a 2114 high with the 2035 close. Next day, you were down at 1860, and the following day at 1726. So now you're getting all those gains back on follow through from an upgrade on Friday. I'm a little skeptical on this, Dennis. I think it will not close over $21.
It's at 2045, so I don't think it's going over 20. I think it's going to close over 20, though. I think you're in breakout mode here.
Okay.
And I think $20. I like 20 on it. Facebook get beats here again. I guess I should have sold it because it's continuing to go lower here. 77.40. I might have to get off the radio show to sell my Facebook pretty soon. I'm going to lose everything. Let's talk. And obviously, we talked banks earlier, and I still am going to stick to that. I think the banks are going to be strong here today. They are still trading slightly in the red here this morning, but they are trying to go green. I do see some buy and balances starting to form. I see Citigroup with a buy and balance of 50,000 shares in Bank of America. So you're starting to see some buyers emerge here in the financials. And I'm going to stick to my thesis that this market comes back. It's going to be banks that lead the way. But the other thing that's strong here, too, is the stocks that are strong every single day. You look at Micron. It can't go down. I mean, it's down a penny today. Market's terrible tape. And there's Micron sitting, holding on here once again. Stock like Square, SQ, holding up once again. It's only down like 19, 20 cents on a terrible tape day as well with a huge beta. So same stocks continue to be a source of strength here. And I mean, that's telling you they want to go higher. So I like Micron. I know we've had two analysts come out now with a $100 price target on it. I wish I had this one in my investment portfolio. I can't bring myself to pay up here at $60, but you know what? It's starting to look good here again on the chart. Maybe I should just pay up because I don't think that $100 price target is out of, people say, are they nuts? I don't know. I think it could do it too. I think we could be looking at Micron a year from now, and I think we could see a $100 price target on our $100 stock here as well. So I like Micron too. I do think MU is going higher, even in the short term, because even this morning, it just can't even go down on this tape. The relative strength is awesome, that thing right now.
Yeah, boy, hard for me to get a feel for this chart here. You had the high of the move at 63.42 that day. But interestingly, you posted your high close for the move on Friday. Kind of in a weak market at 60.58, 60.69 high right there. So see if you can bust through there. Big volume day when it traded up to 63.42. So I believe that was after the second of two upgrades or something crazy like that. But so there's a lot of air. So if you're shorting this thing in the upper 60 handle, just be cognizant. Really no daily high until 63.42. Spinner is giving us a heads up. Earnings are on Thursday, so that makes me think you may have some people doing a little bit of selling as well. I want to catch up here in the chat here. Rob Hood is asking us about a couple different stocks.
Sure.
And the first one is Ash, ASH. What's that, Ashland Oil?
That's Ashland Global Holdings, ASH. And yes, I believe it is. Is it oil?
Think so.
I believe it is.
Okay.
Joel throw me under the bus here. I should know. I used to trade this thing quite actively, but I haven't traded for a long time. I think it's oil.
Man,
Ashland Global is sticking. Really threw me under the bus here, Joel.
Chemical. Okay, I'm sorry.
Is it chemicals? Specialty chemicals.
Okay. Wow. All I can say about this one, Rob, is you've had two spikes. The spike on Friday was up near 77. 76.99, and you had another spot there at 77.16. So 77 is your major resistance. You hung on to close at 74.73. So I wouldn't want to see it get too far away from the close if you wanted to get up and challenge 77 there. But here's a stock trading at all-time highs. February, it hit 77.16, and as I said, on Friday, 76.99. So that's huge level. Really hard to find any resistance in there. Dennis, any comments on Ash?
I mean, it was a nice day on Friday. It didn't hold the gains. A lot of things didn't hold the gains on Friday. It was a huge move. I mean, really, when you look at from the day before, from 71 to 77. So I'm not following the story, but, technical basis there, lots of support, 74, 73, 72, and you were trading up there. So I think if you get a pullback here today, which, you do appear to be, wow, the market's pulling back overall. You get a pull back in like 72, 73 area. I think there's lots of buyers down there.
John Dodson's asking about the few bad days. Actually, it's a 4-day sell-off in Bluebird Bio. Made a new all-time high. This was on the 13th at 36.17. Weekend to close that day at 23.35, and then you've just had a nice sell-off. I think a downgrade or two in there.
Yeah, you had some analyst commentary that was putting weight on it last week. I'm just going back because I have the goldfish memory to remember. But it was down 3%. Somebody put a sell on it. Where was it? It was Favis initiated with a sell rating on Friday. William Blair defended it with their outperform here. That was later on Friday. So Bluebird Bio just kind of hanging out. But, I mean, it hasn't made a trade here this morning. 122 shares was all off exchange. But $236 4 days ago. There is I don't think this is one that just gets slaughtered because I still think this, out of the big three, you used to always think Kite, you used to always think Juno, and you used to always think Bluebird. Juno is now gone. Kite is now gone. I think somebody's eventually scooping up Bluebird too. So, and the market thinks it too. And that's why I think as it pulls back, I think you do have underneath demand because this stock, even though it's not officially in play, everybody's still thinking it. There was the three that were always traded together. Two of them are gone now. I think Bluebird's still a target out there.
Opening into an interesting area. Odd lots have knocked it down here at this 198.25 area. That was Friday's low. Okay, you also had a couple low at 97.65 and 98.51. So, if you're trying to take a stab here at 198, just be aware that your next daily low is not down to 195.05. But you do have 2-3 daily lows into that area. You're opening into that area. So there was former support there. So keep an eye on it. Going back to the chat, Rob Hood also is asking about Nike. Rory and Tiger are going to help some, right? They had some issues on Friday that I don't know if we covered as far as people resigning. Not a big effect in the market. It was down on the day about 40 cents. For me, formidable resistance here in the upper 66 handle. Double top at 66.60, 61. We were a buck away from that. Taking out Friday's low. Dennis, Nike in no man's land.
Yeah, it's right in the middle. I mean, you look at it, it's hard to make a trade when you're in the middle of the trading range here. We know Nike was in this long-term trading range, if you go out to the weeklies, between 50 and 60 forever. Finally broke out over 60. I mean, and that was the breakout. And it went to 70, just shortly after that. So if you're lucky, you can see the breakout over 60, which was back at the end of the year in December. And we never really looked back. We retested it that one day, and that test held. That was back on December 22nd. And we were up since then. So I love it down at 60. I don't, obviously it's going to be a while before you get back down there. But can I make a trade at 65? No, you had 70. You're kind of in the middle of the range. I mean, It's a lot of times as a trader, you just got to sit on your hands and say, look, I don't see anything there. And this is one of them for me on Nike.
Yeah, $60 major support where you broke out from. Aragorn is asking about Square. Just can't fall. Any thoughts?
No, that's what we just said. I mean, it can't fall. And if it can't fall in this market, in this tape, when everything is falling, what's it telling you? Wants to go higher. Path of least resistance is higher for this. It's proving it this morning, just like Micron. These two stocks. So if you are saying which stocks are going to lead us here back, because it seems like we always bounce back. We bounce back today. It's going to be the banks leading us back here today because the TLT is weak unless something drastically changes with the TLT. And then I think it's going to be stocks like Square and Micron leading with the race once again here. Micron wants to go higher. Square wants to go higher. Hard to fight the tape. On a valuation perspective, Micron is very attractive. On a valuation perspective, Square is not. But it doesn't matter. They're both in favor, and it's all about sentiment. And these stocks, when they're in favor, they stay in favor a long time. And everybody is having, a remorse, including myself, for not buying the pullback in Square back in December, January, and February. Now it's up here at $55 at all-time highs, and people are chasing it. And I think the chase is still on. So I think Square goes higher too.
Really? Okay. Let's see. It's traded at 55, right?
You're the contrarian, and that's killing you sometimes, Joel. That's why you lose these bets with me, man. Stop making contrarian bets. It's a full range of bull market still.
Okay. I'm not going to make any contrarian bet. I just want. No. Okay. I'll give you 60. You want 60? I'll take 50.
It's 54.5. So that's 4.5, 5.5. You're already cheating.
Okay.
I'll take 59.5, and I'll give you 49.5.
Okay.
Fair.
Lunch?
Let's do it.
Steak? What do you want?
Lunch. This is not a steak bet because Square is going to be there within a couple of days. The thing's wild.
Okay.
So SQ, I'm saying 59.5. You're saying 49.5. Done. We got a bet.
All right. And now I'll reveal my secret weapon here. And all-time high was made on Thursday at 55.84. You got a triple close. The last three closes, 54.61, 54.84, and 54.89. You also have declining volume. You hit a peak volume of 22 million shares, at least over the last week. That was on Wednesday, and now it's tapering off. 13 million traded, only 10 million on Friday, when they should have traded more volume on a triple witch. So,
You're buying Square puts.
What?
Are you buying Square puts?
Not yet, but I'll see. If it doesn't close over 55 today and make a new all-time closing high, then I will.
I think it's going to be over 55 by 10 o'clock.
Well, it might trade over 55.
It's going green today. I'll call it. Square's going green. Micron has already gone green. It was just trading flat. Now Micron is green. And I think the banks are going green too. So I think Square's going green. I think Micron's going to be one of the leaders here today. I think the banks are going green here too. That's my bold calls for the day. Look at these trading ideas we give you here on PreMarket Prep.
Right.
Hanging myself out there this morning. Bullish banks, bullish Square, bullish Micron for day trades.
And are you going to be trading a lot of RKGA? We just have to cover that. Where is it? $40?
It's not 47. It's up $6. I will not be touching this one. This one's a wild child. Too much gambling for me.
Keep an eye on, we blew away Friday's high. You know what, folks? I'd just be careful on this one. You hit a peak volume on Wednesday, 13.8 million. Now the volume is coming in 5.8 and 1.2, 1.3. You're trading up in the pre-market, but, on light volume as well. It's traded maybe 30,000 shares, but I don't know. I mean, it needs to find a lot more buyers to keep it going higher, and real bad day on Thursday. Where'd it close on Thursday? 47.99. So that's a high print for the move, and that's where we're trading at right now. Spencer, anything else in the chat or anything else you'd like us to cover before we wrap things up?
No, not particularly. I think we got through the bulk of it today. So appreciate it, guys. Dennis, we'll let you go and get out of your Facebook position.
I should have sold it. Wow, it's only down about 50 cents from where we were talking about it, but should have got up at 4 in the morning.
Well, live and learn. All right, that's our show for the day. Real quick, I want to mention this. I think I mentioned this on Friday also. If you are a Benzinga Pro user and you want to talk to us about your trading and kind of how you use the platform and how you trade, and want to be featured in an article on benzinga.com, you can email me, Spencer Israel at benzinga.com for that. But that's our show for the day, folks. On deck for tomorrow is Nick Shaheen, author of Create Income with Option Spread. Thanks to our guest, Paul Lamonica. Thanks to all you who joined us today in our chats on YouTube and premarket.benzinga.com. Hope you all have a good rest of the day, and we will see you folks on Tuesday.